Hi guys, we're going to do the second part in this series of alcohol marker drawings. This one we're going to do some really pretty lavender on, and we're going to do the same kind of techniques that we talked about in our first part, but we're going to add in just one little different detail, and we're going to use some colored pencil that's alcohol soluble on this piece. Okay, so we're going to do this together, and I'm going to show you that pencil. I'll show you where to get them. They're very easy to get a hold of, and if you enjoy this technique and you don't have these particular pencils at home, any of a wax-based pencil is going to work for this. So these are really simple to recreate. You can even use your Crayola pencils at home. So let's grab your Sharpies and your rubbing alcohol and get started. Hey there. So we're back to do this next part of our video. This is the lavender one, and we're just going to do something very simple, very clean, and I'm going to show you a little bit more of this technique in a little bit more concentrated form, and then we're going to use this really cool Progresso. This is a pencil, but it's just a regular colored pencil. It just doesn't have any wood around it. It's just solid color. I really like these for doing big shading spots, but I like this color quite a bit, so I'm going to show you how this works with the alcohol as well. Okay? So I'm not even going to use the pencil. We're just going to sketch right onto the paper today. So I've got a Sharpie. It's a light color. Try to use your light colors first if you can. It helps lay out where you're going to go with it. And then when you move into your darker colors, you can always refine those shapes. And I typically think that with Sharpie drawings that the messier is the better, just because they have a lot more life to them that way. So for this one, we're going to do 5 sprigs of lavender. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And we'll do some leaves, just real simple little teardrop shapes. It doesn't have to be the correct plant look. You're gonna get the point across. It's gonna look like lavender. Now, if you want to look at pictures of lavender, though, and do something that looks more accurate to the plant, please do that. I am just not that kind of person. I'm going to thick up these stems here just a little bit. Okay, let's put that in a little bit. We'll move on to our next color, and I think I'm going to start with this color, which is a little bit like a pinky purple, like almost a violet, but it's very pastel-y. So I want to lay in the lines for how long I want my little blossoms to be. That would be a little longer. Okay, so these lavender flowers end up being just kind of cone shaped, but I don't want to lay anything in too heavily, so we're just going to scribble. Lavender flowers have a lot of little blossoms, and they have a lot of little shapes that kind of go with them. So just have fun with it. Just be light-handed and loose, and let your imagination kind of go with these flowers. Lavender is one of my favorite scents as well. You know, it's great use for an essential oil as a fragrance, and they're so delicate and spring-like. I really tend towards liking these flowers, even in my home as decoration. And don't worry if there's white spaces left in here, it's gonna be perfectly fine. You can lay it in as darkly and heavily as you want. I like doing some dots around the outside edges. Okay. So we're gonna move on to our next darker color, which is gonna be a true lavender. And it's got more blue in it than the violet, so it's going to show up more like this mid-tone, and then we'll go in with an even darker color past that. And I'm laying this in a little bit more heavily towards the center of the flower, just because I like covering in a little bit more of those white spots. You say, Becca, we're not doing anything with alcohol yet. Yes, I know. We're going to get there. This one's got a little less alcohol involved in it, just because we're really just focusing on the blooms to use that technique with for this one. Scribble in some more here. Okay, now we'll do the stems. I like giving just a little more definition to each of the bloom stems. And taking about half of the little leaves and giving them, and they don't even have to be lined up with the ones you had before. They can just be their own complete leaves. You can go over the ones you've already drawn in. It's kind of up to you. Okay, all right, now I did some really fine little detail in here, just giving the little light leaves some definition. We're just gonna do that right quick, because we're not gonna apply any alcohol to the bottom leaves down here. Okay. Now for our last little step of color, I like to use this pencil to go in and really lay in some darker tone. And you see it gives this really neat texture on the paper because it's a pencil. It's got a different kind of way of laying color down, but I think it adds a lot to the way the flowers look. Let me go all the way up. And it doesn't have to be specific. This is just for fun. And it's a cool way to see how different mediums can overlap with each other and how you can create some really different looks. Okay, so there's that. Now we get to do the whole part with the alcohol. Hooray, we finally got to that part. Okay. So you're gonna take your alcohol on your napkin and we're just gonna dab a little bit on here. You don't need a whole lot. You're just gonna kind of pad over the top. And you can see how much it picks up of that colored pencil. Because the pencil's soluble for the alcohol, it's actually gonna dissolve some of this on it. And look, you could even add a little bit more because it's gonna be on that napkin.
And then if you were using regular color pencils or crayons, what would...
I would recommend that if you were going to use a Crayola colored pencil or a crayon, that you would get a spoon warm. You would do your water part first over your marker, and then if you wanted to use the pencils, that you would get a warm spoon and go over everything with the warm spoon, and it'll dissolve the wax that's in that, so it'll help it look more diffused. Or you could use Crayola's watercolor pencils, which are also really wonderful, and they have the same kind of qualities.
And you would just be using water.
And you'd be using water, yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, you could even use watercolor over top of this. You could do any kind of techniques with this, but it's all about getting that fun, sort of relaxed kind of look. So the last thing I do with this guy is I take one of my brushes and I just give it a little bit of a roll together just to see a little bit more of a bouquet look. And see, look, we got really messy, so it's okay. We can just be messy. This even becomes almost like a stamp when you get it to that point, so. Okay, so now when this dries, it's gonna change a little bit more as it gets a little bit less wet. Right now it's pretty damp, but it's gonna lose some of the grayness in behind where I was stamping all that, and the purple is really gonna show through. So I hope you enjoyed doing this with me. This is just a little bit of a look into some of the techniques that you can use rubbing alcohol with some of our art supplies and stuff that isn't too expensive, and it's just fun to play with, something new to try. And I hope you get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and you can even go back into this honestly over and over again. You can, because the alcohol dries so quickly, it'll go back in, you can add more layers, you can take stuff away, you can actually scrub with the alcohol and pull some of the color out, and it's a lot of fun to play with. So I really recommend that you try it at least once to see the different techniques and what you can come up with. We hope you have a great day and have a lot of fun making art.